We are back at
it. You expect to not get your teeth kicked in on your home field by Tulsa!
Champions of the Big 12.
This is not the 1980s OSU.
Zach Robinson, a lot of time going deep for Des Bryant. He's open. Diving catch. Touchdown, Oklahoma State.
We are back at it. Welcome back to another edition of the Pistols Firing Podcast. I am Carson Cunningham, joined as always by Colby Powell. Colby, we're on the road for this edition. I have been away on business. I am up in the great city of Tulsa. You can't lose to Tulsa. That's where I'm at. So appreciate our listeners being patient with us. There wasn't a whole lot to break down, if we're honest, with OSU Arizona. It was an embarrassing loss, which we'll get to. Adding injury to insult with Zane Flores' injury. We'll get into that as well. But Colby, good to be back with you on the Pistols Firing Podcast.
Yeah, I was in Tulsa.
You're in the playroom, it looks like. Are you in the playroom?
I am in the playroom, yes. This is the playroom. That's the platform to the foam pit behind me with the little slide that goes down into the foam pit. So, yeah, whenever we record at night, I have to sequester myself all the way across the house because my office is way too close to the toddler's room. So she would be coming to the door, hearing me, wanting to come in and listen to me do the podcast. And, you know, anytime we pop on here, she has to pop her head on the screen and yell, "Hi, Carson!" So, yeah, that's what we'd be getting if I was recording any closer to her right now. But, yeah, I spent the weekend in Tulsa playing golf, and now you're up there for work. So we rotated Tulsa trips, and it's been a little tough to get on, but it's good to be on now, and we do have some things to break down. So.
Yep, always good to be with you. And I do think Layla's got a future in TV and radio. She loves the spotlight, just like her old man.
It's so funny. She's shy and quiet and stuff, except whenever we get on these calls and she sees herself on the screen and the camera, and she just wants to talk and talk and talk, and she projects. It's like it's an out-of-body experience for her. I don't know where it comes from.
Yep, I love it. She's the real star of the show. We do need to get to a few things. I need to update the episode number and graphic while we're talking here. But first, let's get to Chris's University Spirit, your one-stop cowboy shop. Be sure to shop at Chris's University Spirit all day, every day. Free standard shipping on orders over $75. I've been perusing lately. You wouldn't think I'd want to go OSU T-shirt shopping after a loss like we saw against Arizona, but man, they've got tons of great options. Be sure to stop by Chris's if you're in Stillwater. We got homecoming coming up. You're going to want to stop by Chris's and be decked out for homecoming. No matter what the football record is, OSU still has America's greatest homecoming, so we appreciate Chris's sponsoring the show as always. Colby, like I said, not a ton to break down from the loss that was at Arizona, and I got to say, it did take me back to 2005, Mike Gundy's first season. I was, I think, a sophomore or junior in college. And just like, you just knew the season was kind of over. And it was just a matter of how embarrassing would the losses get. And I always think back to, there was a road game in Waco when Al Pena was the quarterback. And he threw like 4 or 5 interceptions. They were just completely not competitive. And it was kind of back to the days of like the early 90s with Pat Jones, where you were the worst team in the conference and you just were looking forward to basketball season. Hopefully Steve Lutz gives us a lot to look forward to come basketball season, but it certainly is trending that way. And of course we can get into the game and the things that happened, but just overall kind of a sad weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, because the week before against Baylor, there was some excitement, some reason to think, okay, maybe they can piece some things together here. And you wondered, was that a one-week byproduct of, just let's all rally together, throw the kitchen sink at Baylor, everything that they're not prepared for, give them our absolute best shot at home, and hopefully just kind of pump some energy and some life back into this season. And it seemed like maybe they had done that against Baylor, but the real question was whether you could come back week 2 on the road and replicate any of that success that you had, particularly on the offensive side of the football. And Oklahoma State just wasn't able to do that. I actually thought defensively there were a couple of nice moments. Now, overall, it was a poor performance by a defense that was already struggling and then lost a few starters. And but offensively, it was really disappointing to see what had happened. And then it was tough to watch Zane go out in the fourth quarter the way he did. He has obviously been put into a really bad situation as his first time starting at the collegiate level. That being said, his play was poor. His play was poor Saturday against Arizona, but you hate to see him go out like that. Oklahoma State has had some really horrible injury luck at the quarterback position, and some of it, you can say, well, if you can't protect, of course your quarterback's going to get hit more. They're going to get hurt more often. And I understand that, but I don't know. Some of the injuries that Spencer got whenever he was at Oklahoma State, those weren't big hits. Those were just, weird fluke plays that would happen. The injury that Hoss Haney took in week 1, I mean, that's just a fluke play where he breaks his foot and butterfly effect, Carson. I mean, we don't know what conversation we're having sitting here on October 7th if that doesn't happen. So just continued terrible injury luck for Oklahoma State at the quarterback position and a really disheartening day. We teed off at 9 o'clock that morning. We played Cedar Ridge, went back to my buddy's house, and we watched the Oklahoma State game. We watched the first half, and we kept it on for part of that third quarter. I couldn't justify making them keep the only TV on the Oklahoma State game, so I went back and watched the second half on replay because nobody else wanted to sit there and watch it live, and I completely understood that because it did start to get pretty unwatchable there in the second half.
It really did. And while I certainly understand the position that Zane Flores has been put in with the offensive line being once again just terrible, really a lackluster receiving core getting open for him. But I do think that a lot of the blame can be placed upon Zane Flores. I mean, let's be honest. And I do want to say this. I was going to say this more often if Mike Gundy kept taking the podium. He's no longer the head coach, so I don't have to really harp on this point. But Mike kept trotting out it takes 25 games, or he didn't say that number exactly that he said in the past, but he kept alluding to the fact that Zane's going to look different in 3 or 4 weeks once he plays more games. Guys, this is Zane Flores' third year in college. He is not a true freshman. He's been on campus for 3 full years. I know he had the foot surgery and all that. I don't care. You've been on campus for 3 years. It is time to put up or shut up, and he's not putting up. And this is not 2010. This is not 2005 even, where if you come in as a redshirt freshman or you haven't played a whole lot of games, you get this long runway to kind of grow into the role like a Spencer Sanders did, for instance. But I'm not here for the excuses of youth. He's been on campus for 3 years. He's not shown any progress whatsoever. And I understand all the caveats with the head coaching change. Like, whatever, man. Like, it's no different if you're playing running back. Like, you get the ball in your hands, you got to go make a play. If there's a seam there, you got to run through it. You got to show the vision, or we're going to play somebody else. And OSU, unfortunately, is not in that position. Now he's hurt, and they're going to try to make chicken salad out of chicken something else. I understand those things, but I'm tired of hearing the excuses for Zane Flores. He has straight up not become the quarterback that he was recruited to be. He was recruited to be the franchise quarterback. We all celebrated the recruiting win when Nebraska did want him late. They didn't recruit him for most of his high school career, but when Matt Rule was hired at Nebraska, they wanted him bad. And we were all hoping Oklahoma State could hang on to him, and they did. And that's where, for me, you have to judge this accurately, as Mike would say. So do you agree with me, though, that we got to stop making excuses that he's young and that he doesn't have the help here or there, whatever? This is big time football, and he hasn't shown me much, and frankly, he's been a huge disappointment so far.
Carson, I think to an extent, Doug Meacham agreed with that on Saturday whenever in the first half of that game he was giving Sam Jackson a full drive. I think he was looking for something else, some other kind of spark to get this offense going. I said it a few minutes ago. He was put in a bad spot, but the play's been poor. Sometimes you can elevate as a quarterback. We saw Hoss Haney in that first quarter elevate as a quarterback with his ability to make plays. Zane wasn't able to do that. I mean, Zane was averaging 2.5 yards per attempt on Saturday whenever he got hurt in that game. The offense just simply was not able to move the ball. It was not able to really function with Zane back there at quarterback. And it's uncomfortable to have to sit here and rip on his poor play whenever he's dealing with an injury. But the reality is, part of the reason that Oklahoma State is in the situation that they're in is because they have not had adequate quarterback play. this season. Part of the reason that they're down 31-6 at one point in that game to Arizona, it ends up being 41-13, pick six late for Oklahoma State. But the quarterback play for Oklahoma State just has not been good enough for 2 straight years now. Last year, you had the rotating door of Alan Bowman. You got one great half from Garret Rangel, and then he breaks his collarbone. That's more bad quarterback luck. That's not on your offensive line. That's not any kind of fluke play happening. That's a guy gets tackled, goes down, breaks his collarbone. And then Milwaukee Smith comes in, one good game and then a total disaster. And then Zane comes in. And if we're being honest, Zane didn't really have a good game in any of his starts this season. You would have thought the Tulsa game would have been that get-right spot. Oklahoma State's last lead this season, Carson, was 3-0 over Tulsa. Oklahoma State got the ball first in that game, went down and kicked a field goal to take a 3-0 lead. Tulsa scored on the ensuing drive, never gave up the lead, and Oklahoma State has not had a lead in any game since. So, look, Zane has not been good enough back there. He's not going to play this weekend against Houston. It's either going to be it's either going to be the Sam Jackson or the I almost said Clint Bowen, and now I can't his son's name. Brooks, Blake, Bloke. What's his name? The son. What is his name? Brooks? Is it Brooks?
I called him Clint, so don't ask me. I'll look it up as we're talking here.
Oh my gosh.
I agree with your point.
I don't. Banks. His name is Banks Bowen. I don't have it in front of me, and once Clint popped into my head, that was all I had. So
it's Banks Bowen.
Yeah, Banks Bowen. So I would imagine we're going to get a whole lot of Sam Jackson on Saturday against Houston, just his athletic ability, what he brings to the table. And this week, I think it's unlikely that Sam Jackson's going to be splitting his time between the wide receivers room, the special teams room, and the quarterback room this week. I think he's going to be with Coach Kevin Johns. I think he's going to be with Doug Meacham, and I think that they're going to be getting him ready throughout the week to play Saturday against Houston. And I think that that's the right call. Put somebody really athletic back there who just has a chance to make plays, has a chance to extend plays, pick up first downs with his legs, extend drives. Look, he had a couple of passes batted down. He's not the biggest guy. They're going to have to work around some things with Sam Jackson. He's been playing receiver for 2 years. Like, this isn't, this isn't Trayvon Boykin walking through that door. This isn't Spencer Sanders walking through that door. But it's entirely possible that this offense could be more productive with just a full game of Sam Jackson than they were with full games of Zane Flores. Because if we're being honest, this offense was pretty anemic with full games of Zane Flores.
No, that's totally fair. And you're kind of getting into that situation where almost like you and I were tempted back when they had Ollie Gordon and the quarterback situation was just a disaster, to where with Sam Jackson, you're almost tempted to go full like wing T, full like, just straight up, just we're going to put Sam Jackson at quarter. And look, Sam Jackson's he can throw the ball, but you're right. He's not a prototypical quarterback. He did have those balls batted down at the line. But you're going to kind of have to get funky with it. I think that's an opportunity to kind of lean into the strength of the team, which I think would be Sam Jackson at quarterback, Trent Howland, and Rodney Fields. And am I sitting here suggesting they should run the wing T triple option? No. But you kind of run concepts off of that, which we have seen with Sam Jackson with the motion, the getting tricky with it. And I think it's going to really challenge Doug Meacham to conjure up a game plan with a lack of a prototypical drop back quarterback, because I'm with you. I think it's got to be Sam Jackson. I mean, with all due respect to Banks Bowen, I mean, the kid's a walk on, and I think Jackson gives you your best chance to win. So, and I'm to the point now, Colby, where the season's at. Just run the ball, like I said, with those 3 guys as kind of the spearhead of the offense, and just say, look, we're going to run the ball 4 times, and if we don't get the first down, so be it. Now, I'm not advocating, not punting from your own 15 or 20 yard line, but you get what I'm saying. In certain situations, we're running the ball 4 times and we'll run as much motion as we can to confuse the defense and go from there. Do you think that would be a way for Doug Meacham to attack Saturday?
Yeah, what you're saying is basically desperate times call for desperate measures, and these are desperate times for Oklahoma State. We've talked a lot about Colin Klein, the head coaching candidate. Let's talk about Colin Klein, the quarterback. I think a variation of what Kansas State did with Colin Klein at Kansas State could maybe work with Sam Jackson. Colin Klein was not a drop-back, let-her-rip quarterback. Colin Klein would sit in the pocket, methodically pick his spots to run. They would give the ball off. They would run little pop passes, little jump passes to the tight end, streaking over the middle of the field. They would do things to get the defense off balance. Carson, I think your absolute best chance – look, You've got, 11 receivers that you're trying to get them all playing time, all snaps, all meaningful spots on the field. There should be somebody sprinting horizontally all game long. Before every snap, you should have 1 or 2 backs in the backfield flanking Sam Jackson, and you should have somebody in motion, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, all day long. Every 4th snap, give it to him. Every 3rd, every 5th, every 6th, mix it up. Give it to the guy on the jet sweep. Make the defense defend horizontally enough that it freezes that guy on the edge for just that half second to open up some lanes for Howland, for Fields, for Jackson. And best case scenario, you could have Sam Jackson play an entire game where he has 14 pass attempts, something like that, and a few of those, I'm telling you, take that snap, fake the jet sweep, get a lead blocker out in front, run toward the back of your offensive line, pop up, and get it over the top to Josh Ford. Just do some different things that the defense has to worry about. You can't rely on any type of traditional offense. You can't rely on snap it to your quarterback and just run inside zone. You can't rely on just snap it to your quarterback, have him stand there for 3 seconds, and throw a slant across the middle of the field. That's not how this team is built, and at some point, you just have to take your personnel. Like we said, desperate times call for desperate measures. If somebody wants to call it a gimmicky offense, call it a gimmicky offense. I would rather watch a gimmicky offense like what you and I are talking about than watch what we've watched the last month, the last 12, the last 13 months. So, yeah, I'm all for Sam Jackson in the shotgun with Trent Howland, with Rodney Fields, and with wide receivers just running sideways all day long.
The Colin Klein call-out's a great one by you because do you remember, I think it wasn't the Arizona game, it might have been the game before that, where they actually did some of that. I think it was the Baylor game is what I'm referencing, where Jackson would get the ball and do that kind of Colin Klein kind of shuffle forward towards the line and kind of, because it used to drive teams crazy when they played Kansas State because they would try to argue so much that the lineman was blocking downfield or it was an ineligible man downfield because there was that very fine line between a run and a pass where the quarterback had that decision to make. And I love that call out because that's what they've already shown a little bit of that with Sam Jackson. Maybe Doug Meacham will go to more of that with Jackson playing more at quarterback this week. But it's a great call out, and I think it's something that they should absolutely do. So it's funny you said that because I did notice that in the Baylor game, and I meant to bring it up. But that's something that hopefully we'll see. And again, Doug Meacham's going to have to get creative. But I have gotten a lot of questions about Hoss Haney. People keep asking me, is he going to come back? Is he not? And I know he has some games left to play before he technically would burn a red shirt. I know Doug Meacham had some comments about that as well. But what's your read on it? I mean, if I'm Hoss Haney, I'm definitely not playing too many games to burn a red shirt for a team that's not going to a bowl game, frankly. Very high chance they're not going to a bowl game. But I do think, a big part of him wants to play football. He didn't want to just sit over there on the sideline if he's healthy. So it's an odd situation to be in. I do think that in many cases, we kept saying that the quarterbacks that left Oklahoma State, Milwaukee Smith, Garret Rangel, they saw the writing on the wall with Flores and Haney battling it out. But maybe in hindsight, Colby, it was more of a situation of, well, Hoss Haney's the guy. Based on what we've seen, maybe that was closer to the case. But all that's a lot to say, Colby. I guess just first off, your take situation. Will he come back? Won't he? Which kind of your read on it?
Yeah, I mean, if you believe Doug Meacham, then you believe that he's going to come back. Doug Meacham has said that their last conversation, he wants to play. He's all in. He's a competitor. He loves football. And Doug Meacham said, he could potentially play the final 4 or 5 games of the season. If he plays the final 4 or 5 games of the season, he's not getting that red shirt. He's not getting the medical red shirt. He's not getting the 4 games red shirt. He's not getting either of those. So he'd be burning a year of eligibility to do that. Now, maybe Hoss Haney, who is a couple of years removed from high school now, has very little game action, maybe he wants that opportunity, and he thinks that it would be worth burning the year of eligibility if he could come in, quarterback what has been probably the worst offense in college football for the last 12, 13 months, and he could turn that into a real offense that wins some games. That tape alone could be enough to either automatically win him the starting job under the new head coach next year in Stillwater, or potentially go to another Division I Power 4 program and immediately walk in as the starter there if he has established himself as a dude against real competition. Because right now we are talking about 2.5 drives against UT Martin, a middling FCS opponent. So I can absolutely see the argument to be made, don't burn up a red shirt for this caliber of a team, this caliber of a season that's not really going anywhere. I could also see a scenario in which Hoss Haney thinks that he needs to get out there and play some football and put some film on tape to set himself up for the next stage of his career, and he would still have, 3 years of eligibility left? He would still have a lot of football that he could play collegiately. So I think that it's impossible to read something like this with somebody that we don't know, somebody that we haven't had the ability to talk to. Doug Meacham says he wants to play. I will take him at his word, and I will be hopeful and optimistic that we do see Hoss Haney for all of November. But I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the other way either. So I don't have a strong prediction on this one, but I could see him wanting to come back and play for all the reasons that I mentioned. He sounds like he's a gamer, and if he elevates this team, that does a lot to showing everybody, like, hey, this is who I am. I'm an elevator. I'm a talent escalator. I can work behind a bad offensive line, and I can lift all tides.
Yeah, hopefully that's the case. And look, I think he's definitely going to play the amount of games he's allowed to with a red shirt, but I don't know. Is that a good business decision to play more than that and burn a year? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. We'll have to see. But all in all, though, Colby, it's just like I kind of mentioned at the top, like the kind of a lost season for Oklahoma State. This season's pretty much cooked, as we know. More guys have entered the portal. I've kind of lost track of all the defensive players that have entered the portal. Any takeaways from the defense and how they played? I did think they showed some improvement against Arizona. It was kind of the worst case scenario that I brought up, where the offense just does nothing to help the defense throughout the course of the game. And, especially when the play that Zane gets hurt on a 4th down, deep in their own territory, immediate touchdown for Arizona. So, tough to have too many strong takeaways from the defense. But I did think they played a little bit better. Did you?
Yeah, I did. Look, Arizona couldn't run the ball. That was encouraging. Oklahoma State allowed one of their lowest yards per carry totals of the last few seasons. So, yeah, that was optimistic. You forced 3 turnovers. That was really good. Oklahoma State was in positions to make plays a number of times in that game. There was a crazy Fafita scramble where they could have had him down for a sack 2 or 3 times. They just couldn't get to him. Wendell Gregory still looks like a dude. I mean, he's out there making plays. He looks fast. He looks physical. Parker Robertson, he's back there gutting it out, giving it everything he's got. He's a gamer. He bleeds orange through and through. So I do think that there were some things to take away from in week 1 under Clint Bowen to say, hey, they stopped the run. They forced some turnovers. You got to play some complimentary football at some point. That defense was on the field for about 35 minutes on that turf in Tucson, Arizona. It was 92 degrees and sunny on Saturday. So you need some help from your offense to at least stay on the field a little bit, get some first downs, flip field position, do some things to make your life a little bit easier as a defense. It was week 1 under Clint Bowen. The tackling was not good enough. Oklahoma State missed a bunch of tackles. They could have had more sacks against Fafita. Clint Bowen said that there's things that they're working on. They're working on the fundamentals of tackling, and that will get better. So hopefully that will get better, because that's a problem right now. There are guys out there taking snaps right now that Oklahoma State did not plan to have out there taking snaps. Hopefully they can gel as the season goes on. I'll say I thought week 1 under Bowen, if we're giving the Grantham defense an F, I think we can at least give the first week of Clint Bowen's defense a D+, if you will. They got torched through the air, but 3 turnovers, you stop the run. You're going to get torched whenever your offense has you all on the field the entire day in negative game script situations. So, I'd say D+, C-, wherever you want to go for Clint Bowen's defense week 1, which is an improvement, again, from Grantham's F.
Hey, that's considered progress. That's a progress report that most parents would be proud of. You improve from an F to a D. It's at least passing. We like passing grades for Oklahoma State, even though the curve has significantly lowered than what we're used to. Let's get to Wolf Corporation, proud sponsor of the Pistols Firing podcast. Cowboy fans, you're looking to sell or lease your commercial property? Turn to Wolf Corporation, Oklahoma's trusted commercial real estate listing brokerage since 2010. Their experienced team specializes in showcasing your retail, office, or industrial space to the right buyers and tenants across the state. They're based right here in Oklahoma. They deliver results with local expertise as well. Visit them at wolfcorporation.com. That's WULF corporation.com, or call 405-308-3480 today. Go Pokes. So thank you to Wolf Corporation for being a proud sponsor of the show. We appreciate them as always. I did have one more thing to get to on that.
On the defense?
Scuttlebutt, coaching scuttlebutt, head coaching candidate scuttlebutt. Not much has changed. Zach Robinson for me is still who they have zeroed in on. I think there's already been discussions with him based on what I've heard. I should put this in the rundown. I think most people probably want to hear that more than our grades for OSU's defense against Arizona. But I do think G.J. Kinney is high on the list as well. If I had to pick the top two candidates at this point, I think it's Zach, and G.J. Kinney's right there. I think his track record, a known commodity. I do think the Arkansas job will play a factor in this. They have a lot of money to offer a head coach as well, and I think Kinney is high on their list too. It's interesting to see if Mike Gundy throws his hat in that ring for Arkansas. I keep hearing mixed things on that. I don't think Mike wants to coach. I think it's all talk that him and Cale want to go coach together. I don't think Cale Gundy has any desire to coach, despite what he said. I think he carefully worded it that if Mike wants to go coach, I'll go with him. But I think he knows deep down Mike doesn't want to coach. That's just my opinion. That's not any sourced reporting on that. But I do think G.J. Kinney and Zach are the top two candidates at this point, Colby. And so not much has changed there. I think right now it's kind of a matter of they want to talk to both about way more than just football, if you know what I mean. They want to talk more about all the things you and I have discussed. I mean, there's a lot of things that Oklahoma State themselves have to sort out, no matter who the coach is. No matter how is this all going to work? You look at other schools. I keep bringing up Oklahoma to people's chagrin, but they've completely transformed their football program to look like an NFL organization. Is that something the new coach would want to do? Is that something Chad Weiberg and the Board of Regents would want to do? There's a lot to sort out there from multiple parties, but I do think Zach is the leading candidate still at this point.
Yeah, the G.J. Kinney's team is interesting. I don't know if you saw OKC Dave's fan survey about the coaching vacancy and what people are looking for. Recruiting and fundraising were at the top for the fans, and that was a big deal. Lower in priority was OSU ties. I mean, it came in last. Like the fan base, the ones surveyed anyway, were not real interested in whether you had Oklahoma State ties. Not a huge priority, and I think that's fair. If you're the best recruiter, you're the best fundraiser, and you're the best coach, then give them the job, right? I'm all for that. So, yeah, I think that those are the two big names. I still think Alex Golish is going to get a look down at South Florida with what he's done to turn that program around. But I understand G.J. Kinney, a lot more time in this area, in and around this area. I think Oklahoma State does a better job than Arkansas. Arkansas can maybe throw a bunch of money at the head coach for whatever reason. You know, you got the Waltons, you got Tyson Chicken, you got so many things happening right there in Northwest Arkansas. And that money hasn't flown. Hasn't flown down to Arkansas athletics the way maybe you would think it would. There's actually some controversy among the fan base about whether some of the mega rich people in the area are doing enough to help Arkansas athletics. I've got a buddy who's an Arkansas fan, and we hop on a call from time to time and just chit-chat, and they're frustrated that with the amount of money in Northwest Arkansas that they have had the lack of success that they have had in football, and they're just perpetually a laughingstock. But I don't know, what do you think Oklahoma State is a better job than Arkansas? Because all things considered, where Arkansas sits in the SEC, the teams that they're having to play against, the level that I think that their fan base is going to hold them to if they smell even a hint of success. I don't know, man. I think Oklahoma State's a better job. Is that me being a homer, or do you think more people outside of the pistols firing and Orange Power world would feel the same way?
Well, I look at it two different ways. Number one, if you're a head coach and you want to be more successful, I think Oklahoma State's the better job. If you ask me which job, if you're like the greatest coach in the world, which job would be better in the long run, I do think the money aspect of the SEC is becoming harder and harder to ignore. If you're in the Big Ten and the SEC, you have a distinct advantage. You just do. But I do think there's a reason why Arkansas has not been competitive since they've been in the SEC. Other than that one season with Ryan Mallett at quarterback and Bobby Petrino, that's why Bobby Petrino's back in town. They're trying to recapture that glory that he brought there for a very brief period of time. But if I was a head coach and the money was close enough, I'm taking the Oklahoma State job because you can absolutely win the Big 12, like without question. Like Arizona State came in and won it immediately. And I just don't think you're going to be able to do that at Arkansas. History has told us that. They have had success. I mean, even Houston Nutt, even though they were on the weaker side of the SEC divisions back then, he made the SEC title game multiple times. They lost to Urban Meyer's Florida. So they're very similar jobs in my mind. But I do think if you're a G.J. Kinney, for instance, or whomever their top target would be for Oklahoma State, the amount of salary, I do think Arkansas would be willing to pay more perhaps than Oklahoma State would right away for a G.J. Kinney type. And I think that's ultimately what matters to a head coach. I don't think they look at Oklahoma State versus Arkansas, which one can I win? Because every coach thinks they're going to win no matter where they go, or they wouldn't be in the position they're in. They wouldn't have that level of alpha dog in them to be a head man. So I do think most people would view the Arkansas job better, and just in terms of being in the better conference, being with all the money that will funnel in from that. So I personally would want to go to Oklahoma State. That's not because I'm hosting this podcast. It's more of I can go in. The Big 12 stinks right now. I know I love saying the Big 10. It still stinks. The Big 10 still stinks. We just saw what happened at Penn State. Don't get it twisted. But the Big 12's down right now, significantly down. Big 12's as down as I can remember. OU and Texas leaving is a big reason for that. I do mind that. But I don't know. I would say Arkansas is a better job just strictly because of infrastructure, because I did mention OSU's got infrastructure problems right now. They have money, but they don't have all their ducks in a row, so to speak.
Yeah, I just think you look at the two jobs, and if I told you in the first 5 years, okay, before the next TV contracts are up, we fast forward, hop in a time machine, go forward 5 years, and I say Oklahoma State made the college football playoff at the back end as a Big 12 champion or a Big 12 runner-up twice in those 5 years. You'd say, wow, great for Oklahoma State, and that would kind of be it. If I told you Arkansas made the playoff twice in the next 5 years after this head coaching hire, you would think you were being pranked. Nobody thinks anybody's going to walk into Arkansas and all of a sudden Arkansas is going to have a run at the top of the SEC. Nobody thinks that that's going to happen. So the money will play a huge factor. I get that. I think long term, if you're looking at it, I think I can make the argument that if the money is close enough, that the success that you'll be able to have in the Big 12 could probably get you more contracts and more money. So over the lifetime of the next 10, 15, 20 years, you're probably going to make more money if you take the Oklahoma State job than the Arkansas job, even if they're offering you $1 million more a year right now. And I understand the biases that I have here, but like you said, just structurally, I don't think that Arkansas has a lot going on for them right now. So the best hire is probably going to be made by whichever one uses our great sponsor, Brewster Consulting Group. If any of these sound familiar to you, Arkansas, your processes are manual and inefficient with no documentation. Your data reporting takes forever and it is not accurate. You hear all the hype about AI, but have no clue what it actually means for your business over there in Fayetteville. Your projects always run over time and over budget. If so, talk with our good friends at Brewster Consulting Group. They help build organizations that run like well-oiled machines. They've got clear, reliable data, great processes, fantastic teams of seasoned data engineers that have delivered solutions that are built to last for local clients like the Tulsa International Airport and Medify. They've also delivered solutions for large international enterprises like DP World. Even better, they are founded and run by a proud Oklahoma State alum and season ticket holder. Learn more about them at www.brewsterconsulting.com or learn more about their methodologies by connecting with them at Brewster Consulting Group on LinkedIn or YouTube. Carson, where are we headed next?
Yeah, I did want to wrap up the coach conversation. You mentioned Alex Golish, and I think he's going to Florida. I think that's kind of the recent scuttlebutt from kind of the national folks. And he's got SEC coach written all over him. I know he coached at Iowa State, but he went to Tennessee, had a lot of success there. He won in the swamp. I know Billy Napier in Florida just beat Texas, but I don't think any of us are predicting Florida to go on some kind of run to where they win, 9-10 games. They'll probably come crashing back down to earth the rest of the way. So I didn't think Golish probably has his eyes set on the SEC. Maybe Arkansas could get in on that action too. But that's kind of where I think you haven't heard Alex Golish's name much, because I think he's very much an SEC. He's lining himself up for those type of jobs. I know you like him, and I like him too. But I don't know I don't want to have the G.J. Kinney versus Zach Robinson discussion every single week, but it's an interesting case study, isn't it? I mean, Zach and the fundraising element's hard to ignore. The NFL element is hard to ignore with him. But my final point on that would be whoever's going to have the best plan in terms of the financials, the infrastructure, how like Zach's got all the numbers to call for the money, and I think he'll get it. The question, I think, if you're Chad Weiberg is, how are you going to use it? What's your plan in recruiting? What's your plan in NIL? Because I do think a lot of eyebrows are being raised this year with what Texas Tech's doing. I mean, you can say whatever you want. They're winning. I want to do that. If I'm Chad Weiberg, I'm pointing at Lubbock and go, let's do that. And so that's the question. Does G.J. Kinney have a plan coming from Texas State, which is, a minnow compared to the money that he's going to have at Oklahoma State if he were to be named head coach? So that to me is going to be the deciding factor. And I've heard nothing to discourage Zach Robinson from having a plan, but hey, maybe G.J. Kinney's got a better one. I don't know. But this is a totally different hiring process than we're used to, because it's not just about, well, who do you think is going to out-coach the next guy? Who do you think's got the best schemes and going to hire the best coordinators and all those things? That's kind of where we're at in today's football.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a lot more that goes into it than, what's your coaching pedigree, what kind of systems are you going to run, stuff like that. There's so much more that goes into it. And we'll talk about this more throughout the season. It's a fascinating hire for Oklahoma State at a fascinating time in college football. It really is. What's happening off the field right now, much more entertaining than what's happening on the field. And all we can do is just sit back, trust that Chad's going to make the right decision. And, I assure you, when this hire is made, Carson and I will be hopping on as soon as possible and most likely going live to break it down. Carson, it's the number one thing that I think I'm looking forward to in sports right now is seeing who Oklahoma State hires as the head football coach and then seeing what it looks like next fall, because it's something that we didn't know when we were ever going to get it. I mean, there were worlds, there were possibilities. College football stays a certain way. Mike Gundy could have coached till he was 70. We didn't know how long it was going to be until we turned over a leaf to a new era of college football. And now just all of a sudden dropped out of the sky, it's here. So, I'm fascinated to see how it plays out.
And I'm going to bring up an old segment. It doesn't have to be a segment this time, but it's Bullets and BBs. I want to give a bullet to the OSU fan base for OKC Dave's survey. You mentioned it. The fact that being an OSU alum ranked dead last, bullet for everyone. We have grown past that we need a former player, coach, has to be from inside the bubble. I'm kind of speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but there are very different situations here with a Zach Robinson versus a Doug Gottlieb, right? Zach brings a lot from all the things we've talked about for a long time now, but I am proud that we've grown past we got to hire one of our own as a fan base. And I'm not saying that, the administration had a problem with that, because you just look at their most recent hires. That clearly isn't the case. So I wanted to get that out, Colby. I'm proud of everyone watching the show and whoever voted that we can hire a non-alum. That's what the big programs do. They go hire the best guy, and if that happens to be Zach, hey, that's great. We can stay inside the family again, but it's not a prerequisite like it once was.
It's not a prerequisite, and it's not a foregone conclusion. We don't know that Zach's going to be the guy. If Chad thinks he's the best guy, he'll be the guy. If Chad thinks G.J. Kinney's the best guy, he'll be the guy. And there will be several other candidates that I'm sure will be on that list too. So, Carson, now we're basically just in Chad we trust situation right now. We're all on the outside, just waiting. And that's the thing. You ripped the Gundy Band-Aid off in September, and now we're hoping Haas Haney comes back, seeing if this team can win a game. You saw UCLA beat Penn State last week. Could Oklahoma State have their UCLA moment at some point? It could happen. So, go play spoiler. Go beat somebody.
Yeah, the UCLA upset, I saw it was the first time since 1985 an 0-4 team beat a top 10 team. I think that was the stat. Just a crazy, one of the biggest upsets ever when you put it in that context. It reminded me a lot of Bedlam 2001 when OSU, I think, was 3-7 going into that game. They were just a terrible football team. And then Josh Fields and Rashawn become legends. It was that level of an upset, and that's kind of the role, to your point, that OSU's kind of taking on now. So who knows? Maybe they could, and it would be a lot. It would be a lot of fun if Hosseini came back. We could at least field a representable football team instead of trying to just piecemeal this thing together. Which leads us to our uniform preview. Home game. It was weird seeing OSU wear a home get up wearing white, orange, white on the road. That was just like a bowl game look, and including the half-empty stadium or three-quarters empty stadium. It looked like a bowl game in Arizona in January as opposed to an on-campus site. But at home, they went orange, black last time out. I don't have a strong opinion one way on this, but just as a little preview, I didn't have time to prepare my graphics that I've kind of, like I said, Colby, I've been scouring the internet for some OSU shirts. So I'm a little dated on my looks here. I've uncovered a few things for homecoming that will influence my uniform pick for homecoming next game. So that's called a tease in the TV industry. So I've got a few things up my sleeve for the Cincinnati game, but for this game, 11 a.m., I think, hey, maybe time to wear some black. It's starting to cool down. It's a nice cool day today up here in Tulsa. So I'll go black, white. That's going to be my pick with the we haven't seen Patriot Pete. I keep waiting for him to pull that out. Maybe Patriot Pete on the helmet, but I'm kind of feeling Cursive Cowboys black, white. I'll go black, white.
Carson, the calendar does say that it is time for it to cool down. It was a bit cooler today. It's going to be about 90 degrees and sunny on Saturday. So I'm thinking they don't don the black lids. I'm with you on the black shirts. I think you can still run out there in some black shirts. The game's going to be done by 2 o'clock. You're not going to be playing in the absolute heat of the day. It'll be heat. It'll be hot at 11, noon, 1 o'clock. But I'm going to go white, black, white. And on the side, I don't think we're at Cursive Cowboy season yet. I think we're saving Cursive Cowboys for homecoming, maybe one of those games in November. So I will go just the normal brand on the side, just the Oklahoma State, the OSU insignia on the side of the helmet. White, black, white for me.
Well, clearly I should have looked at the weather forecast because that would have influenced my picks there on the unis. But hey, OSU's going to look good no matter what. They've really come, again, so far in the uni game. And I don't know, maybe they mix it up and do the one combo that Justin Southwell brought up that they haven't worn yet. Well, I think it was white, black, orange. That would be just, let's get weird, man. Let's just get weird. That's kind of where I'm at with the uniforms. But as far as the games themselves, 11 a.m. against Houston, look, two bad football teams, Colby. I just don't have a whole lot of trust in Oklahoma State as an operation, both offensively and defensively. I don't know about Houston either. They're pretty terrible. This is like two of the worst teams in the Big 12. So I'll give you the honor. So you got the tee box here. I'll let you tee off first on your picks for the game because I don't really have a strong feel one way or another.
So this game is actually a closer spread than what Oklahoma State has had the last couple of weeks. The last couple of weeks, Oklahoma State has been a 20.5-point dog to Baylor at home and to Arizona on the road. And now, at home against Houston, Oklahoma State is a 14.5-point dog. So this could be a little bit closer of a game here. Houston's 4-1 this season. Best win probably against Colorado in Week 3 at home. They beat Colorado 36-20. I don't know what their quarterback situation is right now. What's going on with the injuries down there with Connor Wegman, whether he's going to be around on Saturday. Let's see. I'm looking here to see if we can get something. Yeah, Connor Wegman. I'm trying to figure out what happened to him this past week whenever he didn't have any numbers against Texas Tech. So don't have what happened with Connor Wegman in front of me. But look, Oklahoma State has struggled to this point. Carson, I'm very curious to see what is going to happen with Oklahoma State offensively on Saturday. This Houston team, I think, is going to have an offense that you'll be able to slow down a little bit more than what you've seen the last 2 weeks with Sawyer Robertson and Noah Fafita. Those are good quarterbacks. I know the defense has been bad, but those are good Big 12 quarterbacks that Oklahoma State's been playing against. I think Oklahoma State will have a better chance in this one defensively. Offensively, you got to make something happen. You got to move the ball. I hope it's what we're saying. I hope it's Sam Jackson. I hope it's gimmicky. I hope it's guys running sideways. I hope it's option stuff. I hope it's pop passes to the tight end. I don't know that they go full out in that direction, and I don't know that I can go full out and pick Oklahoma State to win this game. I think it'll be a closer one, though. I think the defense will play better. I'm going to call it 31-20 in favor of Houston. Oklahoma State covers.
I like that pick. Connor Wegman injured his shoulder against the end of the first half, so that's what happened to him. And he's had a long injury history. He was banged up a lot at A&M. I think he had a shoulder injury at A&M as well, so he might be out for a while. So I would expect the backup quarterback for Houston, which does make this game a little more interesting. Look, I just don't think Oklahoma State. Now, I do think playing at home, they'll play better than they did against Arizona. I did like the improvement I saw on defense, and I do think without Wegman, that gives Oklahoma State a fighting chance. I'm actually going to go lower scoring because of the quarterback situations on both teams. They're both playing backups, both pretty mediocre to bad football teams on a given week. I know Houston did win at Oregon State, which is barely a football program now. They're not in the Pac-12, but hey, that's something Oklahoma State probably wouldn't be doing right now. So I'll go 28 to 20. Oklahoma State covers, but I'll pick Houston 28-20. So kind of an ugly game, but I'm giving Oklahoma State's defense a lot more credit based on the backup quarterback situation, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a little unclear still. Willie Fritz has said that he thinks Connor Wegman's going to play. He left the game with an upper body injury, and then Willie Fritz said that he was in concussion protocol, but that he's doing pretty darn well, and said that he was supposed to practice Monday, but also he's dealing with a cold and not feeling too well. So a lot going on with Connor Wegman. Willie Fritz expects him to play. I don't know what version of Connor Wegman we're getting if he's dealing with an upper body injury and he's in concussion protocol, and he has a cold and he's not feeling too well. I don't know if that's gamesmanship by Willie Fritz for Oklahoma State to prepare for him as the quarterback. But, yeah, Carson, if you can stop laughing long enough, I'll give you the floor.
Oh, I wish my mic wasn't muted. I have literal tears in my eyes because of the way you described that. All shoulder injury to concussion to has a cold and is not feeling well was quite the journey from Willie Fritz. I don't know why that hit me in the funny bone, man. That was hilarious. College football coaches, man, you gotta love them. We're dealing with that with the OU Texas game, like. John Mateer, will he not play? Won't he not play? You're going to have like OU journalists hanging upside down from a tree trying to look into the practice field there in Norman. So it's just, these guys are psychos. I thought with these like little faux injury reports they put out now, maybe we could get past some of this, but clearly not. He's got a cold and not feeling well on top of shoulder injury and a concussion. So that just kind of sums up this show. Just kind of, you never know which direction we're going. Ends with some laughs, but Colby, I enjoyed it. We'll have much more to break down after the Houston game. I'm not sure people's appetite for a live show. Maybe we will if they win. I don't know. Schedules, we got some time to figure that out. But for now, I am in Tulsa. It's been good to be with you, Colby, and we'll talk to you after the Houston game.
Yeah, we should be able to get closer back to our normal schedule next week with our post-game and our pre-game. Our schedules were a little whacked up this week. So we'll get back on it. Appreciate everyone sticking with us. It's a tough season. It's going to be a long grind over these few months for Oklahoma State football. But we're here every step of the way, and hopefully we see some fun, exciting, innovating things from Oklahoma State this Saturday. Carson, great stuff. As always, appreciate everyone listening. Go Pokes!
We are back at it.
You expect to not get your teeth kicked in on your home field by Tulsa!
Champions of the Big 12.
This is not the 1980s OSU.
Zach Robinson, a lot of time going deep for